Hello everyone! We are starting a free open lecture in our Discord. All our lectures are held weekly without breaks. If you, the viewer, want to ask questions online and get answers, join our lectures. You can find the link to Discord in our Telegram channel. To find out the schedule of the lectures, join our Telegram channel. This is the name of the Docker Compose project because if we build Docker Desktop as an application, here is the container and the containers themselves, and the test is the name of the project. Right there, name is the name of the project. And the services, here we have the service, app1, build. Here it is a bit more expanded. I simply specified the folder using a relative path where the context is located. And here, he completed that the context is in fact the folder from which the Docker file will be built. And also, the path to the Docker file inside this folder. Environment was repeated, then networks. This is where the standard is created, a network that connects the network. Here it is, which is automatically created for all services of this Docker Compose project. And the ports. Here I have ports 8001 and 8000, and here, again, a more detailed description. The type of connection for this port, and then the target is the port inside the container, publish is the port on my machine, and also the protocol of this port. By default it is set to TCP. You can also see it in some other way. Either we can detail it like this, and in principle, the same thing happens here, and as a separate block, if anything, all of this can be written in Docker Compose. If I insert this into Docker Compose here, it will also work fine.
Want to become a great programmer? Subscribe to our Telegram channel.
I can describe the networks I need, but since I don't need any networks here, creating a network that will connect the container networks and its devices is one option. There is also an option, for example, to create some existing network, and if I want to connect a container with another container that is not in this Docker Compose file, I can make blocks. For example, if I'm unwell, for instance, we want to connect some here. Let's well, for example, unwell. I'll add some here, and by 1, I want it in the project. Still on the shadow, I'll do the same for 2. Let's see how to change the full operation. It's not used in any way, just to see. The decor will change. Compos config we write, and here will with also added. Alt-bind. Again the type of binding. Source is that I bind on my local machine Argent. This is where I bind additional specifications if I have. For example, this path does not exist. The specifications says that it needs to be compiled here. The same thing. It's nothing interesting TFSP. This is what Docker does. Cov's tip. It's not quite a Docker tool. This is one of those few commands that are not in Docker, but it is in Docker Compose, and it is obvious that it displays this file just in a slightly more detailed form, in particular. Next is cp. This command allows you to copy files either from my device to the container, or from the container to my device. Docker cp executes, meaning it operates based on what exists in Docker. What is the usage? Basically, the usage is similar to some SCP, which is an SSH copy we specify two usage options. First, if we want to copy something from a container to the device, we write the container name, then a colon, and the path to the file or folder we want to copy. And then here we specify the path where we copy on our device, or back. The source path is where we take a file or folder on the current device and copy this data into the container. The container is specified by the service, name, and where we copy in that container. Again, this command is based on the command that exists in Docker. There is docker create, which creates service containers, but does not start them. So they are currently running for me. I will stop them, and I will stop them completely. We'll stop them and remove container, not have any. You can run docker compose ps and no containers. I write docker compose create, and here my container will be created along with the standard Docker network. Let's see what's in the press. There is nothing here because the container is not yet running, only created. If I write docker compose start, they will start, and in docker compose ps, it will show as running. And you can see that they were created 23 seconds ago when I executed the docker compose create command. And their status is up, which means they are running. They have only been running for 2 seconds because I wrote compose start 2 seconds ago, and they started just 2 seconds ago. So, the next command is precisely that. Yes, many commands are executed with the enumeration of services. That is, for example, if I just wrote docker compose create, containers were created for absolutely all services. Or I can list only those services for which I want to create containers. This will work with many commands here. It's easier to say which ones it won't work with. Yes, this command, first of all, stops all the containers that are running, and secondly, it removes those containers. Well, it also removes the networks.
TFSP.
Here, but for the most part, we are talking about containers. Essentially, there is no docker down command, but it actually first executes docker stop and then docker error. Stop stops the containers, and rm removes the stopped ones. Well, you can also select the services that need to be stopped for it. If they are not specified, it will execute for all services in the configuration. Event. This command displays a list of container events, like, what is an event? An event, for example, is the start of a container's operation, that is, its start, pause, resume, or some kind of stop. All of these are events. And by the way, regarding specific installation, but there is nothing here. In essence, if I take the main example, I will pause this T1 and pause the event. Here it appeared, the trainer, and here are the container IDs. There is a name of the container and some additional information in the system. For example, if I now unpause the container, it will also be displayed as it is. Specifically, it can be used to monitor the state of containers and what is happening with them, subscribing to events, and waiting for the event code to arrive. Moreover, you can choose the services for which we are watching events. For example, if I now do something with F1, I paused it, and in the events, there is nothing. I look only at what was unpaused, and there is nothing there either. But if I pause it and, for example, leave stop to, it stopped. There were events. The events were not just that it was sent a signal to stop, then the container stopped, and then it died. If, for example, it was just started and I don't record the container F2, it will be displayed. Another command is exec, which is again based on the docker exec command, and it allows you to execute some command that we specify in the running container. It is important to emphasize this because there is also the docker run command that executes a command but works a bit differently. So for example, I can take and enter the container's terminal and execute the command. We write docker compose, and that's it. And what command do you have? I entered the container and will execute some commands. So for example, I can enter as a director. Additionally, it is worth noting that the process is seamless and efficient. To clarify, the commands are executed in real time, providing immediate feedback. Furthermore, the system is designed to handle multiple commands simultaneously, ensuring optimal performance. In conclusion, the integration of these commands enhances the overall functionality and usability of the system. There will be just a project folder here that will connect us all these to live, then fab, went docker files main po, and accordingly 3 by 1 went like there, about one other. I suppose I can create some pane with a guy. Here and here it is displayed. For me, because volume, they connect file systems. Well, so anything can be, for example, I can run the Python command, and here I entered the environment. Then, again, there is a command in Docker that displays the list of Docker images used in Rackslid, for example, in Docker Compose images. And here I have the images. Information about these images is displayed. First, which container is running, repositories. This is exactly the image. Tag of this image, well, latest, because I did not specify. The image ID and its size during the build. If there was something else here, for example, an image that I installed from Docker Hub, it would also be displayed here, kill. Kill sends a signal to the container that it needs to stop. Again, there is such a command as docker kill. And you can choose the specific service to send to. If you don't choose or specify, everything is sent. This is the topic that in events, when I wrote docker stop, first the event kill appeared, then stop, and then give the kill. It sends this signal, and you can see the event. When I write docker compose kill, the event kill will show up. Logs display the output streams of the service. For example, I have a proposal running. Let's take a look at many services, 1TF, and also follow them, let them. If now I go to the browser and Inga well and stop, I have requests to the camp, not gradually this, and centuries, and here are my requests, which part for ping, then the words did not appear here, and give compose. Log allows you to watch what you will be in attaching.
Want to become a great programmer? Subscribe to our Telegram channel.